Let me tell you about a project that, from the outside, looked like the peak of productivity. But when I look back at the actual record of what I was doing, I saw it for what it really was. A beautifully crafted, very sophisticated way to avoid making one single important decision. 47. Yeah, that's how many pages were in the final document I produced. I'm talking everything: market sizing, competitive analysis, detailed pricing models, go-to-market strategies, the whole shebang. 3. That's how many days I poured into this thing. 3 full days of just gathering data, building these complex spreadsheets, and designing slides. On paper, it looked like the absolute model of strategic diligence. And then there's this number, 0. That's the number of actual decisions that came out of all that work, all that effort, all that input, and it resulted in exactly 0 output. And that's when I knew I had to stop and figure out what was really going on. So this is day 25 of this little documentary lab I'm doing. And what this whole project really brought into focus for me is just how advanced, how sophisticated my own methods of avoidance have become. They've started to look and even feel exactly like I'm doing important work. Looking back at it, this whole experience really revealed this very specific pattern of behavior. It's a kind of defense mechanism that I've started calling research as armor. Now, this isn't about laziness, not at all. It's actually the complete opposite. It's about being incredibly busy, incredibly active, but all of it is in the service of just standing still. It's where you take all the anxiety you feel about a tough choice and you channel it into this comforting, controllable process of just gathering more and more and more information. And this right here, this is the brilliant deception at the heart of it all. On the inside, you feel like you're being responsible, right? You feel like a strategist, covering all your bases. But the reality? You're just putting off that uncomfortable moment of commitment, that moment where you have to actually make a call and be accountable for where it leads. So what's fascinating here is how this whole thing just feeds itself. It's a perfect loop. You start feeling uncertain, so you think, okay, I'll do some research to get clear. But that research just uncovers more options, more variables, which only makes you feel more uncertain. So what's the logical next step in your mind? Well, obviously, more research. The thing you think is the solution is actually just fuel for the fire. So why is this trap so effective? Why does it work so well on us? Well, it turns out this isn't just some personal quirk of mine. It's a defense mechanism that's actually rooted in some really well-documented psychological principles. It really starts with this concept from a psychologist named Barry Schwartz called the paradox of choice. The basic idea is that while we think having more options is a good thing, after a certain point, more choice doesn't set us free. It actually paralyzes us. Every new option you add just increases the perceived risk of making the wrong choice. And this is the classic study that really proved it. You have shoppers who are shown a table with 24 different kinds of jam. Then you have another group shown a table with only 6. The people who saw 24 jams were way less likely to actually buy anything than the people who only saw 6. Too much choice literally led to no choice. My 47-page report, that was me lining up 24 jars of jam and then wondering why I couldn't pick one. So this paralysis is really powered by 3 key mental tricks. First, there's protecting your inner perfectionist. You're just waiting for that one flawless option that, let's be honest, probably doesn't exist. Second, you use the act of research itself to regulate your emotions. Just the process of gathering data feels calming and productive. And third, rationalization. This is the masterstroke where we invent these perfectly logical reasons to explain what is, at its core, fear-based behavior. And man, this quote from Daniel Kahneman just nails it, doesn't it? We build this story of competence and thoroughness, that's our 47-page report, because it gives us this secure feeling foundation that lets us completely ignore how fundamentally terrified and uncertain we are about the future. Okay, so this is where it all became completely undeniable for me. Using an AI to do this research didn't just create a report, it created a perfect, objective, unblinking log of my own thought process. It literally became a mirror. And when I looked at the logs, this clear prompt signature just jumped out at me. I saw a huge volume of prompts asking these external questions. What's the market size? Who are the competitors? But there were 0 prompts asking internal questions, like, which one of these ideas actually excites me? Or, why does this particular path feel so unbearable to commit to? So you're left with this stark mathematical imbalance. You really can't argue with the numbers. All of my energy, all of my effort was flowing in one direction, gathering info, and absolutely nothing was coming out the other side as a commitment or a choice. The AI wasn't the problem here. It was just the tool that perfectly reflected the problem back to me. It showed me that I was meticulously treating a symptom, this idea that I needed more data, while I was actively avoiding the real disease, which was the fear of actually making the decision. So what's the real harm in this? I mean, it feels productive. So what is the actual cost of buying yourself a few days of indecision with a massive 47-page report? Well, the cost is subtle, but it's really significant. See, every time you default to, I need more research, you're strengthening that pathway in your brain, while the muscle you use to actually make a call gets weaker. And here's the kicker. The research doesn't even resolve the fear. It just gives your fear more data points to fixate on and worry about. And this was probably the toughest pill to swallow. Looking back with clear eyes, I had enough information to make a directional choice on day one. The next 2 days weren't about discovery. They were about building an elaborate justification for a delay I was too afraid to even admit that I needed. Ultimately, all of this behavior, the research, the spreadsheets, the reports, it's all just part of a really complex system designed to help you avoid one simple yet absolutely terrifying question. This is it. This is the question. What am I protecting by staying uncertain? Is it my ego from the possibility of failure? Is it my identity from the threat of change? Is it my comfort from taking a risk? That's the one question a 47-page report is perfectly designed to never, ever ask. And the reason I know this isn't some solved problem for me is because this pattern is still running. Just yesterday, I caught myself deep in a rabbit hole, doing a competitive analysis of competitive analysis tools. Yeah, researching research. It's almost funny. The avoidance pattern had gone completely meta. And that brings me to this final thought. The line between preparation and procrastination, it gets crossed the moment your goal is no longer to inform a decision, but to postpone one. And at that point, it's not really research anymore. It's just avoidance, and it's wearing a very, very convincing suit.